Thank you, Dan, for that beautiful music. Always a treat to have Dan playing for us, and Julie, too. Welcome to Glacier Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Can you all hear me okay? Is that okay? We gather here to celebrate life and to renew our faith in the essential goodness and beauty of life. We gather here to share an hour or two in order to inspire and be inspired. We hope to reconcile and celebrate the past, be present in the present, and work to create a better future. And while we must each walk our own path, we gather to remind each other that we do not always have to walk it alone. My name is Charlotte Streit, and I will be your service leader today. Whether you are here for the first time or have been coming for years, wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever history we share, you are welcome here. Today's guest speaker is a friend of and frequent visitor to Guff, the Rev Dr Todd Eklof, minister of the UU Church of Spokane. More about Todd later. You'll be seeing him soon. Everyone is invited to stay after the service today for coffee and conversation, and we also have a soup and salad lunch, and I saw a few desserts coming in, so don't forget about those. So we'd love to have you join us for the lunch today, and after the service, we'll be quickly setting up some tables and chairs for everybody to sit at. Other announcements: there are circle suppers coming up in November. I have something to read here. They've started up again for the year, and we want everyone to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity to get to know other Guff members and friends in a casual small group setting over dinner or lunch. Your circle supper may be as small as 5 or up to 10 people, depending on who is hosting at their home, and everyone is invited to bring part of the meal. We're encouraging everyone to sign up to host or attend one or more of these fun and friendly meals throughout the year. The next circle suppers are November 14th and 15th, and you may sign up to host or attend on the clipboard that is currently out front, but that will be passed around during the lunch. You can also talk to Julie Stone. Where are you, Julie? She's right there. Oh, she's out there. You can talk to Julie or Elle Norheim, who actually is not here today. But please feel free and sign up and join the community spirit of Guff. Also, an announcement about meals for our friend Elena Martinez, who has had a bad concussion and is on bed rest. There is a clipboard that will be on top of the piano to bring meals to her for this next week, like every other day. So if you're interested in doing that, this clipboard will be on top of the piano. Also, as a fundraiser for the Glacier Montessori Preschool that is housed here in our building, they're having a Dia de los Muertos celebration on November 2nd, which is just a week from today. It's at 5 p.m., and there will be Mexican food and Mexican music and an altar for you to honor your ancestors that have passed. So I think it sounds like a lot of fun. You probably could even dress up if you want to in a costume. Yeah, that might be good.
Not the Halloween costume.
No. So those are my announcements for this morning, the ones that I received. So I think that's what we're trying to do, is consolidate our announcements unless anybody, oh, I know, Social Action Committee is meeting right after the service in the office. So grab your soup and come in for the meeting. It should be brief. Right, Clyde?
Oh, brief. Yes.
Very brief, okay.
That's our goal.
Yes. All right, so we're good there? Okay. Callan, would you like to come and light the chalice for us, please? Thank you. The chalice lighting is called "We Hold That Moment in Our Spirit," and it was written by Adam Slate. When the great mosaic of humanity is treated with respect and dignity, when no person is threatened by hunger or war, when we have extended hospitality to the stranger and tended to the sick, when equity and justice reign everywhere, then we shall all be free. We light this flame to hold that moment in our spirit and in our minds until we can make it real. Did the candle go out? You have to light it in match for it. Thank you, Kellen. So we'd like everyone to stand and join us in singing as you are able in opening hymn number 34, "Though I May Speak with Endless Fire." Thank you. And now, children, it's time for a special children's story, so please come on up. And Dr. Todd Eklof will be your children's story leader. Come on up.
Go ahead. Thank you, but I can't make it.
Oh, that's right in my chest. Yeah, there we go.
It's adjustable.
Yeah. Hey, really good to see everybody, by the way, before we get started with the children's time. So good to be here, always to be with you. Thanks so much for having me and the great hospitality. Hello there. How's everyone? Good. Well, I wanted to talk with you a little bit, but I noticed there's a stowaway in the pulpit. A problem child, actually. Let me see what's going on. Get your hands off me. Out of there. Oh my goodness. Look who followed me all the way from Spokane. My goodness, it's my friend Charlie McCarthy. I'm no friend of yours. Oh, come on, what are you so mad about?
Well, I've had a bad week.
You've had a bad week? Well, what's been going on?
I'm having trouble in school. I'm in trouble in school.
You're in trouble at school again. What did you do?
Well, I played hooky.
You skipped school again. So why did you skip school?
Well, it's not my fault. It's my teacher's fault.
It's your teacher's fault. Why is that?
Teacher told me not to come to school without my homework.
Okay, and how's that your teacher's fault?
Well, I didn't do my homework, so I didn't go to school.
Let's see, you played hooky.
Well, I was just doing what the teacher told me to do, and now I had detention.
Oh, Charlie.
I don't know why I'm in trouble. I'm the one who was following the rules.
Well, Charlie, you know what I think, Charlie? Your teacher didn't really mean that, you know that your teacher didn't really mean that you shouldn't go to school. He meant that you need to do your homework.
Well, why doesn't he just say what he needs?
Well, I don't know.
How the kid's supposed to know things with all these rules?
Okay, Charlie, just do your homework next time. It's going to be okay, all right? But I think what you need...
Oh, no, here we go.
I think what you need is a moral compass.
A moral... Yes, that's right. That's right. A new toy would make me feel a lot better. But can I have the DD gun instead?
Charlie, I told you, you're not going to get a BB gun. But a moral compass is not a toy, by the way.
Oh, then why would anyone want one?
Well, a moral compass is the knowledge that you need to help you know the difference between right and wrong without anyone else having to tell you.
Well, then why should I want one?
Charlie, a moral compass is the knowledge that you need to help you know what you're going to need to do in life. Don't you want to know that?
Well, no. What's wrong with doing what I enjoy? That's the right thing to do.
No, Charlie, that's it's not quite that simple.
Well, tell it to my teacher.
Okay. Developing your own moral compass means that it's up to you, Charlie, to decide what's right, not your teacher or the rules or anything else.
You can't buy a moral compass?
Well, no, you can't buy a moral compass. You're gonna have to develop it for yourself. We can't go to Toys R Us and get it.
Well, where's the hot glue? I'm ready to start.
All right, that's good. But you misunderstand, Charlie. Again, a moral compass is not a thing. It's just a figure of speech.
Oh, brother. Here he goes again. Let's hear it, Socrates.
All right, Charlie. A moral compass refers to the knowledge that you learn through your own experiences, and it's a gain that helps you guide you through what you want to do for the rest of your life, or what you ought to do.
Well, I thought that's what teachers and parents and rules are for.
No, teachers and parents can help you when you're young and you're still trying to figure things out. But as you get older, it's really up to you to make your own decisions and figure out what rules you should live by.
You mean someday I get to make up my own rules?
Yeah, not exactly. What I mean is that you get to figure out what you must do to be a good person, Charlie. It means having values no matter what anyone else says.
You mean when I grow up, I can go fishing whenever I want? Even during school?
Well, you can do that, but fishing really isn't a value, Charlie. I mean, being considerate of others is a value. What are some of the values that you guys have? Do you know? What are some nice things that you should always do, you think? Help people. That's a great value. That's one of the best values there is. Do you understand that, Charlie?
Well, not really.
No, I didn't think. But how about, you live in a beautiful part of the world, don't you? You guys like nature? Do you try to take care of nature? That's a good value. caring for nature. You starting to understand now, Charlie?
Well, no. Do I have to say nor?
Well, there's just a little bit more, Charlie. So, going to school isn't a value. That's a rule. And so is doing your homework. But someday, if you decide that the pursuit of knowledge and truth is part of your moral compass, then you'll be glad to go to school and work hard and study and do homework or whatever else you have to do.
Well, I hope you don't ever decide to become a motivational speaker.
All right, Charlie. I hope at least some of this will eventually sink in, but for now I want you to go back to school on Monday with or without your homework and take responsibility for whatever decision you make.
I guess I'll do my homework.
Well, very good choice, Charlie, and thanks for coming. We'll see you later. You want to get back under the pulpit and finish your nap?
Do I have a choice?
No. Thank you.
This is the time in our service when we share the milestones from our individual lives. This is going to help. When you come up to share your joy or concern, please light a candle, use the microphone, and openly share or hold your thoughts quietly in your heart. We will listen respectfully and lovingly. Let us now share our joys and concerns.
Hi, I haven't been here in a while, so I have a few. I've got some stuff, so I've got a few candles to light. First of all, this one is from my mother, my mom, Naomi Rosenberg Van Lauwick, and she passed away last month. I moved her up here 2 years ago, and we had one good year up here, and one not so good year. She fell, and she never came home. So this is for my sweet mama. She was 92. Okay. And this candle is for some of our friends who lost their 25-year-old son to mental illness a few weeks ago. And mental illness, it's a nasty, hard, real thing. So this is for the Morgans. And I have a happy candle. This is a candle of joy, and it's for my friend Kay's birthday, and I want to wish her happy birthday, and I'm glad it's her birthday because birthdays are good to celebrate.
This has never happened before.
Never.
Well, I haven't monopolized the whole thing.
Okay. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I'm sure everybody in here has been impacted in some way or another by that. And I'm lighting a candle for the joy of our dear friend Ann, who passed away last year, or this past year. But she brought us much joy to our life, so just remembering her with joy.
Hi. I just recently celebrated my birthday, and I got to also have a nice celebration here with a few friends, and I'm really thankful for that. So, thanks.
I have both a joy and a sorrow. Last week was my wife Sarah's birthday. That was a happy time. So happy that she fell yesterday. Unfortunately, that's the right way to say it. She fell yesterday and didn't break any bones, but she's recovering at home today.
I'll light a candle for the joy and the beauty of the season with the larches, and the cottonwoods are so beautiful.
I just don't want this morning to pass without a candle for the state of the union or the world. So how about we just call this an Oy Vey candle?
Okay, well, I'll light this final candle for all the joys and concerns that remain in our hearts unspoken. Please join me for a few moments of silent reflection while we hold what we've heard this morning. This morning's reading is by Maria Popova. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. There is no greater remedy for helplessness than helping someone else. No greater salve for sorrow than according gladness to another. What makes life livable despite the cruelties of chance, the accident, the wildfire, the random intracellular mutation, are these little acts of mercy, of tenderness, the small, clear voice rising over the cacophony of the quarrelsome, over the complaint choir of the cynics, to insist again and again that the world is beautiful and full of kindness. May it be so. It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker today, the Rev Dr Todd Eklof. He has been the minister of the UU Church of Spokane since 2011. And has been involved in many social action issues there in Spokane and elsewhere. He has engaged with the gay rights activism in the areas of criminal justice reform, restorative justice, the peace movement, immigration, and racial justice. Recently, Todd was the co-founder of the North American Unitarian Association, which is committed to supporting and promoting liberal religion, including embracing the fundamental principles of human dignity, religious freedom, reason, and tolerance. So I'd like to invite Todd up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, my dear friend Charlotte Fly, for your hospitality as always. And great to see all of you here. Well, we put all the chairs out, and it looks like the place is full, so that's good, right? A few seats left. So yeah, the sermon. Well, there's the title up there. So my interest in ventriloquism began very, very early in my childhood. And it was an affection for Edgar Bergen's famous dummy. Who are you talking about? Now stop it, Charlie. You just take your nap. So for those who don't know, Charlie's long era of fame was already waning when I discovered it as a little guy in the late 1960s by watching an occasional rerun of his old movies dating back to the 1930s and 40s. And after he was fabricated in 1922 Bergen took Charlie on the road and became a successful vaudeville act, so successful that in 1937 they were invited to join the Chase and Sanborn Hour, a very popular variety show broadcast during the golden age of radio. And they remained one of radio's top programs, often its #1 show, for almost 20 years. And the pair were among the most famous celebrities in the world. Actually, Bergen was the sidekick, having performed alongside Groucho Marx, Mae West, Frank Sinatra, Liberace. Charlie even had a mock wedding with Marilyn Monroe on their radio show. He met the Queen of England, actually got to touch her, I think. And he and Bergen also starred in several movies, had their own TV show during television's early years, and eventually he earned an honorary Oscar, carved out of wood. Edgar Bergen died while performing one last time at Caesar's Palace in 1978. And today, the original Charlie McCarthy puppet is propped up behind glass at the Smithsonian Institute National Museum of American History. A once famous figure, now forgotten by at least a couple of generations. So it is fitting that he has a place in the Smithsonian, honoring a time in American history when Charlie McCarthy was the most famous and beloved household name in the country. A ventriloquist dummy who became an unlikely celebrity on the radio. It's one way to keep your lips from moving. Edgar Bergen, I should say that the duo's important role in American history was amplified in those Bergen and McCarthy programs that aired during World War II. They were packed with patriotic songs, encouragement to buy government bonds, calls for scrap metal collection, conserving limited resources, writing letters to servicemen, and offering inspirational words about America and its great values. At the end of one episode, for example, the program's official host, the talented actor, singer, dancer Don Amici, said the following: "We are a nation founded on freedom, a freedom guaranteed by a document known to the world as the Constitution of the United States. We of the United States are justly proud of our Constitution. It has been called the most perfect plan of liberty ever devised by man. And yet its power lies in its simplicity. A simplicity that begins with its first 3 words: we, the people. Through all our struggles to become a free nation, we remain, we the people. Tyrants have sought to conquer us before, but we have conquered the tyrants and remained, we the people. And now, once again, we have set our course. We the people have decided that our children and their children shall remain free, as we were free before them. That, as our enemies must learn, is what we mean by we, the people." Now, these are inspiring sentiments that must have motivated listeners to remain resolute despite the many difficulties associated with being a nation at war, especially back then. And there is much truth to them. Yet it is difficult for honest people who know this country's history not to remember that it has also been a nation built on the beaten backs of slaves, on the cheap and tireless labor of kidnapped orphans and indentured servants and exploited Chinese immigrants, none of whom were allowed the freedom or the dignity we, the people, like to claim our country was founded upon. This is so because they, among others, like women and indigenous persons, simply weren't considered people. Not really. Social psychologist Erich Fromm offers a possible explanation for what appears to us now to be such blatant hypocrisy and inhumanity. in his exhaustive study on human aggression. Fromm says, we have to begin with a consideration that for primitive man, the stranger, the person who does not belong to the same group, is often not felt as a fellow man, but as something with which one does not identify. And this may be so because, unlike other animals, humans have lost our instinctive ability to recognize other members of our species as such. Man does not recognize or identify co-species as easily as other animals, Fromm says. For us, different language, customs, dress, and other criteria, perceived by the mind rather than by instincts, determine who is a co-species and who is not. And any group which is slightly different is not supposed to share the same humanity. So we can mistreat and misuse other human beings, even go to war with them, because of their ideological, cultural, national, physical, and any other differences, because we do not accept them as human. Not really. And this is the entire basis of racism, and there are different races and that there are different races of humankind, which is simply untrue. All humans are more closely related to each other than any other kind of animal on the planet, which is why, over time, as our accepted circles of inclusion are widened, subsequent generations realize how wrong and unjust it was for our predecessors to have mistreated those that now are accepted with such cruelty and indignity. In an episode only a week before Don Amici gave his inspiring speech about we the people and our nation being founded on freedom, Edgar and Charlie had just returned from entertaining the troops in northern Alaska. In addition to a few corny jokes about bringing back blubber so they could chew the fat, Don Amici asked, "Say, Charlie, did you see any Japs up there in Dutch Harbor?" "Well, I'll tell you, Don," Charlie said. "It was very foggy out there. It was oh so foggy there. It was really too foggy to see 'em, but I could smell 'em." To which the audience laughed. And then Amici said, "They tell me those Japs are pretty hard to find. I hear they're even disguising themselves as human beings." To which someone else replied, "Well, they'll never get away with that." To which again there was uproarious laughter. And as much as I enjoy listening to these old radio shows, this bit obviously caught my attention. Unlike its original audience, as a contemporary man, I found these remarks as disturbing as I imagine you do, and not funny in the least. But I do not look backward and judge those who laugh by today's standards, which have evolved, I hope, at least partly because of their mistakes, just as tomorrow's generation shall hopefully benefit from ours. Instead, I try to understand their roots to avoid repeating these errors of the past. Again, Fromm, my go-to luminary on subjects of human psychology and sociology, says, "All governments try, in the case of war, to awaken among their own people the feeling that the enemy is not human. It seems almost a rule when one wants to make it easier for one's own side to destroy living beings of the other, to indoctrinate one's own soldiers with a feeling that those to be slaughtered are non-persons." But it's not just the government that does this. Our entire culture is often involved in the same dehumanizing environment and scheme, whether consciously or not. Case in point, the radio episodes I've mentioned were originally aired in 1942, the same year that President Roosevelt issued Order 9066. Only 2 months after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, authorizing the arrest and detention of Japanese Americans, about 120,000 of them, into internment camps, permanently robbing them of their homes, their possessions, their wealth, and more to the point, the very freedom that Don Amici had bragged that America is all about just weeks earlier. America was supposed to be better than this. Just as today we are supposed to be better than arresting and deporting legal immigrants among illegal immigrants who have exercised their freedom of speech to protest Israel's inhumanities against Palestinians in Gaza. We're supposed to be better than kidnapping students with legal visas off our streets, placing them in chains and exiling them from our country. We're supposed to be better than disappearing hundreds based on unproven charges and sending them to foreign hardcore prisons without due process in violation of our own laws. As the leader of the free world and having benefited the most from our global economy, we are supposed to be better than exploiting the poorest nations on earth while falsely claiming that we're being ripped off by the entire world, including by Vietnam. As individual Americans, we're supposed to be better than attacking the character and threatening the livelihoods of those we disagree with. We're supposed to be better than electing obvious authoritarians to lead our free nation. We're supposed to be better than denying obvious truths on vital matters like the importance of vaccines and the reality of carbon-based climate change just because the truth doesn't concur with an unfounded paranoid conspiracy theories. We're supposed to be better than banning books from public schools and libraries. We're supposed to be better than judging people by the color of their skin rather than the content of their character, including white people, for those overzealous so-called social justice warriors out there. We're supposed to be better than resegregating society based on identity groups for those woke liberals out there. We're supposed to be better than demanding freedom for ourselves while denying it for others, for those who, for whatever reason, perceive others to be so different than us that they are not really human beings and thus don't deserve the same rights that we expect for ourselves. Not really. The United States of America was founded upon the Enlightenment principles, and if you're a Unitarian, you should know them by heart because they are the principles that our liberal religion is founded upon. The most fundamental principle of them all is human dignity, which philosopher Immanuel Kant described as his categorical imperative, meaning it is unconditional in any circumstances and is essential to all that we do. Kant defined this imperative as no person shall be treated as a means to somebody else's ends, but should be considered an end within themselves. And the principle was reframed during the French Revolution in the terms that most of us are familiar with today as the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And I like to add of all peoples, right? Not just individuals, but all peoples we consider different than ourselves, have inherent worth and dignity. Mexican people, Palestinian people, Ukrainian people, Chinese people, Russian people, Iranian people, Canadian people, Greenlander people, transgender people, Democrat people, Republican people, liberal people, conservative people, millionaire and billionaire people, poor people, Tesla driving people. On and on. They're all people. We're all people. As Tibetan Todorov says in his book, On the Defense of Enlightenment, those who felt imbued with the spirit of the Enlightenment cherished their belonging to the human species more than their affiliation to their own country. Or as Montesquieu succinctly said, I am necessarily a man, I am French by chance. Our nation, like our liberal religion, was founded upon a belief in the common humanity and the belief in that humanity is universal no matter where we are from. And this is why all Americans who stand in opposition to a government that seeks to put our welfare, the welfare of only 4.3% of the world's population, above 95.7% of other human beings living with us on this small blue pearl that we call our home, is wrong. And this is why I prefer Erich Fromm's reworking of the categorical imperative as the principle that good is what is good for humanity and evil what is detrimental to humanity, the sole criterion of ethical value being human welfare, and that the unfolding and growth of every person should be the aim of all our social and political activities. In his book, The Anatomy of Human Destructiveness, Fromm details the reasoning behind this imperative. We need to create the conditions that would make the growth of humanity, this unfinished and uncompleted being, unique in nature, the supreme goal of all social arrangements. Genuine freedom and independence and the end of all forms of exploitive control are the conditions for mobilizing the love of life, which is the only force that can defeat the love for the dead. And that latter necrophilious orientation, as he calls it, like war, as we have seen, is dependent upon dehumanizing others. The love of life, rather, a biophilious orientation, moves us to truly recognize and care for all human beings, all of whom belong to the totality of life itself. We create and maintain human dignity by upholding freedom, reason, and tolerance. Right? If dignity is the goal, these are the mechanisms. These are the technologies, the social technologies for maintaining dignity. Freedom, reason, tolerance. Freedom is the freedom to speak, to move about, to determine one's own purpose, and to enjoy the benefits of society equally without prejudice. Reason means more than just thinking well, but please think well. But that's not really what it means. Liberals aren't saying, we believe people should be logical. You should be logical. But that's not the point. It means rather, from a liberal perspective, allowing people to think for themselves no matter how much we might disagree with them, including comedians and late-night television hosts. It means that they don't need a church or a government or even whatever the popular thought is in the community telling them what they must and must not believe. The belief that the ability to think, to reason is a human feature, and that I must respect your right to do that is a core liberal principle. And tolerance means that we simply live and let live. And that it is our moral responsibility to protect the welfare and rights of those whom we vehemently disagree with. People say tolerance isn't enough. We should embrace what others believe. We should embrace, we should get to know them, we should understand. That's impossible. There's billions of people on the planet. I'd have to study everybody I meet in order to understand them. No, tolerance is, I just look at you, it's a human. They got dignity. They get to think for themselves, they get to express themselves. No matter what else I know about them, I know that about them. And they get to live next door to me in the same neighborhood. And they get to walk down the street safely and go to the public schools and be protected and not harassed by the law the same way as me. So, tolerance, I mean, yeah, you can learn to love everyone, go ahead. That's great. That'd be a wonderful world. But at least live and let live. That's easy. But dignity is our fundamental principle. It is the basis of our nation and our liberal religion. Freedom, reason, and tolerance are what dignity looks like when it's achieved. The theme of our most recent stewardship campaign in my Spokane congregation was in the form of a question. What brings you here? It's a really challenging question for Unitarians because on the one hand it invites us to consider, what you like about your fellowship or what you personally get from being part of it. But on the other hand, it asks you to consider if you're in the right place. What brings you here? Is human dignity really your greatest value? Along with upholding the freedom and reason and tolerance necessary to create and maintain that dignity? Is that what brings you here? This is what American Unitarianism is supposed to be about, although it's gotten increasingly muddled since its ill-considered entanglement with Universalism in 1961. An error that I have made my mission to correct during these waning years of my term as a Unitarian minister. Since the merger, and by the way, I have nothing against Universalism. Love it. I'm just not a Universalist. And we could have, if there was going to be a merger, it needed to be handled differently. But I won't get into that. Many people hear me say this and they think I dislike Universalism or blame Universalism. It's not Universalism's fault. It's not Unitarian's fault. It was the way it was done. It got messy. Because we neglected our roots, our historical values, in order not to have to deal with the differences that had kept us apart before this uncomfortable merger. All right. Yeah, in that process, as I've written, if I stay on my script, its adherents have thus become increasingly unable to articulate this new hybrid religion, Unitarian Universalism. Right? It was supposed to be an association of Unitarians and Universalists. What is Unitarian Universalism? Articulate what it's about, and during the past couple of decades, it has become overtaken by those who don't at all cherish our commitment to human dignity, nor to freedom or reason or tolerance. 6 years ago, after I wrote and distributed a book about these concerns, I was within hours banned and labeled a racist, homo and transphobic, classist ableist. Within hours. Nobody had read the book, nor anybody ever quoted anything to substantiate this, but Within a month, I was publicly censured by the UU Minister Association. By the end of the year, I was disfellowshipped by the Unitarian Universalist Association, which went on to label me as a non-cooperative, abusive bully who is ethically unfit for ministry on a new webpage that it built just for me. By the way, for some reason, they've recently got rid of the abusive bullying part, so now I'm just non-cooperative, which is true. So all of this occurred without anyone to this day, again, lifting a single sentence from my book to prove these ludicrous ad hominem assertions. The UUA's top leaders even secretly colluded with a few members of my Spokane congregation to try to force me from my post, which is against their own bylaws, their own values, their own code of ethics. And rather than helping to ease tensions there, they did all of this with no concern for the welfare of my congregation, just so long as they could get rid of their pesky gadfly, no matter who they used, or who they hurt, or even if they split our church apart. They didn't care about my dignity and the dignity of our members. They didn't value the principles of freedom and reason and tolerance that Unitarianism is founded upon. And they have since eradicated those principles from their bylaws. Now, this was extremely difficult to go through, resulting in about 10% of our members splintering off. People who we knew and loved, people we thought knew and loved us, but they only left after causing even worse havoc in our church than the UUA did. They wrote and distributed letters comparing me to Donald Trump, along with a letter to everyone in our congregation asking them to reduce their contributions to a bare minimum for as long as I remain in the pulpit. If I believed it would have helped, I would have left. But I knew that if I did, that split would have been far worse. It would have been the other direction. The shock, the stress, the pain, the cruelty, the grief, the depression that I still experience myself, and the anxiety that my congregation still experiences anytime any little conflict comes up. Are we going to split? And lies about me that I experienced, it was often more than I can bear. But I stuck it out because so many asked me to stay. And finally, those who spat on my dignity and tried to deny my freedom to speak and reason for myself, and who proved so utterly intolerant, fled immediately after they lost a board election, after they'd been solidly rebuked by the great majority of my congregation. They didn't have the fortitude and the moral courage to stay and work out our differences. Instead, they immediately sent a joint letter of resignation that had to have been prepared well in advance, never to be heard of again. I've often asked myself the very question at hand: what on earth brought them to Unitarianism to begin with? If it wasn't human dignity and freedom and reason and tolerance, what was it? Once again, turning to Fromm, who helps me gain some insight into what may have happened. He says, it does not make any difference whether the object of one's aggression is a stranger or a close relative or friend. What happens is that the aggressor cuts the other person off emotionally and freezes him. The other ceases to be experienced as human and becomes a thing over there. Under these circumstances, there are no inhibitions against even the most severe forms of destructiveness. And that's what it felt like. And sometimes still does. Like I was a dehumanized thing over there. And when all this turmoil was going on, my now late friend, the Reverend Happy Watkins, I don't know how many of you might have, probably not many knew Happy Watkins, but he was a beloved African-American Baptist minister in Spokane. I used to recite Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech during the MLK Day every year, and sometimes he traveled around, so he probably did that here in Kalispell once or twice too. Anyway, he's passed away recently, but Happy was extremely concerned about my welfare, and he came unannounced to church one Sunday when all this was going on and asked to speak to my congregation. And with tears in his eyes, he said, "Please take care of this man. He's my friend, and I need him." Wow. And afterward, I reached out to hug him, and I remember just collapsing into his arms and momentarily weeping. And he told me, he later told me that the next day, one of those wanting me to leave called him and chastised him for coming and tried to unsuccessfully convince him of what a terrible person I truly am. And sometimes Happy would come to our house to check on me and my wife Peggy, who had been just as shocked and traumatized by such activities as I was. And after expressing her shock, and over some of those who'd been the very worst, Happy told her, "Church people are some of the meanest people in the world." Oh. So I guess ministers and faith leaders from any tradition know this is true. That it's the same wherever you go, as the song says. There's good and bad in everyone. So I don't want to settle for this explanation. Not in our Unitarian congregations and fellowships. Because our first principle, the thing that is supposed to bind us together, is our respect for the inherent worth and dignity of every person and of all peoples. That's why we're here. If this isn't what brings us here, if we above all cannot treat each other with respect and dignity, then we're in the wrong place. And if this is the case for you, don't wait to split before you split the church. I sometimes joke that Unitarians will entertain almost any idea, but will argue over where to put the furniture. But as with Charlie McCarthy's joke about Japanese people stinking and not being human beings, it really isn't funny, right? It shouldn't be. Those who have to have their own way over every little matter, treating those who think differently with hostility in the process, are in the wrong place. There are plenty of places for disrespect and indignity in the world. But a Unitarian community is not one of them. Indeed, there is no room for such indignity in Unitarianism anywhere, given that it was founded upon this categorical imperative. Human dignity equals freedom, reason, and tolerance. Freedom, reason, tolerance add up to human dignity. Yet, even now, as I work to restore our venerable tradition, I get pushback for emphasizing the centrality of these principles. Some complain they're not spiritual enough, they're not inspiring enough, they're not attractive enough, and the like. But for those of us who are Unitarians, they are more than enough because they are what bring us here. Just as our nation cannot say it was founded upon and devoted to freedom when it dehumanizes others in order to turn them into enemies and justify exploiting them, if we can't treat others with dignity no matter who they are, especially those within our own congregations and our religion, then we may be a lot of things, but we are not Unitarians. Not really. My hope for our historic religion is that it will be here for as long as it remains necessary to remind our communities and our world of the values that we say we devote our lives to. Values that uplift humanity and human well-being, the well-being of every person and of all peoples. But if we're here and we're not doing this, then we should ask ourselves, what brings us here? Thank you. And do I just announce the morning offering, or do you want to handle this? Yeah? You do it because you know what's done. Okay.
Thank you, Todd. And now it's time to pass our baskets. These baskets represent our time, talents, and treasure. We appreciate very much you joining us today, and your contributions ensure the vibrancy of our community. We will now receive the offering for the support of this religious community and its work in the world. You are invited to give generously and joyfully as you are willing and able. Thank you again, Dan, for the music. And now, please rise as you are willing and able and sing together hymn number 318, We Would Be One.
One
The closing words are by Reverend Michelle Collins. This flame ends, but the work continues. May our hearts remain open as our practice of compassion grows stronger with each passing day. And please say these closing words together. I think they're up there. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for being here, and please join us for lunch. We will quickly set up some tables with your assistance. Thank you.